Yeah. For sure.
We'll be tearing out here.
This deal, yeah, maybe we got right to dig, but I mean,
Yeah, sir.
I just think we're a little premature for that, maybe a little more.
Must be some
Oh, we got babies.
fireman families.
This thing is real, very behind. Oh, man, he's been busy working. We can't seem to get enough personnel to stay with us. Of course, we got that time.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Sweetwater City Council to order. Ask Councilman Lee to lead the invocation and Councilman May to lead us in the pledge.
Join me in prayer. Father, we thank you for this day and for this country, a place where we can live in freedom and enjoy the privileges that come with all of that. Thank you for those who are here today. Thank you for life itself and
Amen.
Christ giving us eternity. Thank you for loving us and caring for us. And I pray today that we could make the kind of decisions that would be pleasing to you and forever be things that would help the city. Thank you for this day again and for your love for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, we'd like to welcome the Sweetwater class, future Sweetwater class, here today with us. And would y'all like to stand up and introduce yourselves to you?
Sure they will.
Sure you would.
I'm Jackie. I'm Marlon Hicks. I'm Gabriella Pena. Jessica Diaz. I'm Heather Cavalier. I'm Hannah Lynch. I'm Carla Daniel.
I'm Andrew Ranger. Harley Sanders.
I'm Samantha Torres. I'm Rachel Sparks.
I'm William Delgado. I'm Grace Sala.
I'm Natalie Moore. I'm Mia Belfast.
Big class this year. Glad to have y'all with us. Enjoy your day today. Okay, we'll now hear a presentation from Assistant Chief, Fire Chief Russell Reeves.
Lane and Chad, if y'all can join me. Good morning, and thank you for having us here. I'm here to recognize the actions of Clinton McKeehan and Chad Worth for the Apple Creek fire. And to present them with the Meritorious Service Award. It is our honor to present you with the Meritorious Service Award for your actions at the fire scene on July 23rd, 2018 at the Apple Creek Apartments. Your actions prevented the loss of a large multiple apartment building that had caught fire. Your quick thinking about breaching a wall in the upper apartment that was not involved led to you and other firemen being able to successfully extinguish the fire that had already severely damaged two apartments. Your devotion to duty, professionalism, and competence are in keeping with the highest traditions of the fire service and reflect great credit upon yourself as well as the Sweetwater Fire Department. congratulations. Chad, congratulations.
Chief, is there anything else you'd like to say about the fire itself and point some things out for us civilians here?
Yes, sir. I just want to say I was actually coming back from a fire at Lake Trammell.
That's all right.
I was coming back from a grass fire at Lake Trammell, and we could see the smoke from South 70, so it was already quite going. And they only had a 4-man initial response, which is kind of unheard of for an apartment fire. Other departments would probably use 20 firemen to attack a fire like that. They had 4 guys. One was on the operating the pumper, another was incident commander. The other 2, Clinton and Chad, were interior. They went upstairs, saw the fire was in a common attic and going to the other side of the apartment. When I got there, I thought the building was gone. But they managed to use a pretty creative technique. They breached the sheetrock walls and squeezed between the studs, were able to get in front of the fire and make an effective stop, which is outstanding. Quick thinking and very good. That's all I've got to say.
Sir, thank you.
Congratulations and thank y'all.
Congratulations.
Y'all are more than welcome to go if you want to, or you can stand back there for our whole meeting if you want to. That's up to y'all. Okay, we'll now move to item 5, which is discussed. I'm sorry. I got it. We have someone that's fixing to retire. Is he in here? Kirk, we want to thank you on behalf of the council for all the years that you put in for this city. And we appreciate everything you've done for us over the years. Thank you, sir. Does anybody else?
Kirk, thank you for your many years of service and for your friendship, and we wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you for your professionalism.
Wish you well, Kirk.
Well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk, on behalf of the staff. It's been a pleasure and an honor working with you for the last several years since I've been here. I know that you're leaving this place in a better place than you found it, which is our goal as we exit the organization, every one of us. So thank you again for your leadership, your friendship, and for your mentorship, for being here for us always. Appreciate you.
And I think you've got about 21 days to change your mind.
All right, we'll move on to item 5, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of minutes for the meeting held on December the 11th and December 19th, 2018.
Move they be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now move to item 6A, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending December 31st, 2018. Any questions of Patty?
Move we approve the investment report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now move to item 6B, which is discuss, consider, and act upon approval of resolution designating the Sweetwater Reporter as the official newspaper.
Move adoption of the resolution.
Second?
A question, whoever officially recognized the Reporter as our official newspaper before?
I'm not sure if we ever have, but with the new charter, it's in there, so it's something that we have to do once a year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Got a motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now read the resolution into the record. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sweetwater, Nolan County, Texas, designating the Sweetwater Reporter as official newspaper for the City of Sweetwater for a one-year term, expires December 31st, 2019. We'll now move to item 6C, which is discuss, consider, and act upon reappointment of Mr. Jackie Trent, Mr. Robert Piper, and the new appointment of Mr. Russell Jones to the Sweetwater Cemetery Board with new terms expiring January 31st, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Do they all come to the meetings?
It's been a little while since we had a meeting. Kirk can address that.
The answer is short. Yes, they do. From the last meeting, is that correct, Russell? They were all there. We've had some turnover on the board. It meets very infrequent. It's been about 4 years since the last meeting, and I don't even recall the meeting before that. But there really isn't much business for that board.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we'll now move to item 6D, which is discuss, consider, and act upon petition presented by the Sweetwater Firefighters Association to engage in a meet and confer process and recognize the association as the sole and exclusive bargaining agent in accordance with Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 142. Any questions for Lisa?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the motion? Larry. All in favor?
Aye.
Now move to item 6E, which is to receive a status report covering the proposed pressure plane improvements. Now turn it over to Mr. Sage Diller.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Morning.
Morning.
Good to see everyone. I believe I'm going to be covering the next couple of items on this first one. Update of where we are on the pressure relief valve installation. We started out discussing the project with a contractor we'd worked with before. We were trying to get information on construction cost and schedule and all that. They were getting supplier information. It took longer than expected, and then actually we did not come to an agreement, so we're a little behind on the schedule we wanted to be. We have secured another contractor. They are getting pricing right now. We've been working with them almost daily. Lost a little bit of time over the holidays with the suppliers, giving them pricing. But we anticipate construction hopefully starting in the next few weeks, and then getting it wrapped up with in the scheduled time. So we're a little behind where I wanted to be, but we're working to get it done.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, we'll now move to item 6F, which is discuss, consider, and act upon a request from Landmark Structures for reduction of retainage fund currently being held for the elevated storage tank project.
Okay, this item, the company that has constructed the elevated storage tank, Landmark Structures, their substantial work has been completed for some time. In our Water Development Board projects, we hold 5% retainage throughout the life of the project. There are provisions in the contract to reduce that retainage once substantial completion, or once substantial work has been completed satisfactorily. And so they've made a request to reduce that retainage from 5% down to 1%. I received a letter from Landmark after the binders went out.
We got
Pass
it.
this out. This is just a formal request in writing. And in this letter, they are stating there's still some work for them to do. Demolition of the old tank, SCADA control switch over. They're honoring all that contract. They just request a reduced retainage from 5% down to 1% at this time. We recommend it. They are a long-established company, do a lot of work around the state, around the country. We're recommending the reduction from 5% to 1% at this time. Any questions?
I guess I've got a problem paying them before the work is done. I don't have a problem reducing it to the $60,000 of work remaining to be done, but I have a problem reducing that down completely to the 1%.
Well, see, they've already completed that work. So let's say you completed $100,000 of improvements. Once you complete that, we pay you and we hold back 5% till we get to the very end of the job. So we would have held back $5,000 on the $100,000. So that's where we are right now. They've already completed that portion. They're not asking for any additional payment for work they haven't done. They've already completed that work. 5% has been withheld. They're just asking now, instead of 5%, to reduce that down to 1%.
Is your company liable for any unfinished or damage that they may cause? For example, if the old tower doesn't come down correctly and hits the new tower.
Well, see, the ongoing contract between the city and the contractor, Landmark, is still valid, still in place. The insurance requirements, everything is still in place. And once we give them the notice to proceed again, to complete their work of filling the tank, switching over, and demolition of the old tank, that contract is still ongoing. So nothing has changed at that point.
So essentially, all they lack is the demolition of the old.
There's some electrical work and switch over the SCADA.
Now, what's the fair market value of that work? to be done?
It is in the request, and that has not been paid. That is still outstanding. So that is approximately, I don't have it right in front of me, but it's $60,000 or $70,000. That is still in the contract and has not been paid to the contractor.
Okay, that doesn't have anything to do with the retainage.
That is correct.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood the request.
Right. So once that work is complete, we would still hold retainage on that work as well, but that'll be at the end of the project. Then I'll come before the council and ask for release of full retainage, and that was when they would get their 5%, or now it would be 1%, the total contract amount.
Okay, I misunderstood the request.
I move we approve Landmark's request.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now move to item 6G, which is to receive a status report and discuss, consider, and act upon proposed bid solicitation schedule and potential date of bid award for the Texas Water Development Board Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Project.
All right, I think we have a slide for this
We're
one.
bringing it up, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, first little note there. We submitted the plans to the Water Development Board back in September, end of September, for review. Standard process. They are shorthanded, short-staffed. Everything is taking longer than expected. So I just got when I had to submit this information for the council binders and the agenda, that was prior to me receiving approval. Yesterday, I received review comments from the engineer at the Water Development Board. And so we're working through those. There's a couple of items that we need to address, but we're going to try to get everything completed and back to them for approval so that we can go out to bid. I would love to try to make the February meeting, but on this schedule I'm showing here, it's a little bit conservative, I'm hoping, but most likely it'll be at the March meeting that we actually consider award. So we're proposing to advertise in late January, first advertisement. Second advertisement would be in early February. Then the bid opening date would be mid-February prior to the March meeting. Then we can come to the March meeting with a recommendation. If we can make it happen faster, I definitely will try to do that. I'd love for it to happen quicker and get that project going. But that's where I think the project probably will fall. Any questions on that?
Sage, is this both disinfecting both booster stations or just A and B, or which one?
No, sir, that is out at the airport standpipe. So
Oh, okay.
it's, we talked about it at one of the prior meetings, but it is to help boost the disinfectant in the system. It's to stay compliant with TCEQ, also includes a SCADA replacement and water line replacement throughout the city. Do we need that, action on this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll now move to item 6H, which is to receive a status report outlining the proposed improvements being evaluated for inclusive in the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund application that are administered by the Texas Water Development Board.
Okay, yes, sir. This is the application that the city routinely submits. A lot of cities around the state submit them every year. It's a state revolving fund, and you can fund projects for water improvements or wastewater improvements. There are grant elements to it, potential grant elements. It's all a competitive process. There's some grant, and there's also low interest loan. So I'm going to go through these and give a little bit of information of background about the program, and then we'll talk about what the city's intending to apply for at this point, and it's kind of informative for you guys on, we've been working with Eddie and his staff on what improvements need to be done or recommended, and then we'll get to that point. So this is the state revolving fund administered through the Texas Water Development Board. It's the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund and the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. DWS, so it's the TWDB, CWSRF, DWSRF. Those get a little jumbled sometimes. So the applications are due March 1st this year. They're always due in March, and this time they're in March 1st. The schedule on that So the schedule, you typically submit in March, and you don't know that you get where you rank. It's a big priority list throughout the state of Texas. You don't know where you rank until the end of the summer, and then you get to decide whether or not you want to move forward with their offering. Some entities will get disadvantaged funds, which may be up to 30% grant money. Some may get a little bit more. Typically, Sweetwater has not qualified for that, but Sweetwater has qualified for low interest loans, which are like a full percentage point below market. So it's a good opportunity to finance or to fund long-term system improvements. The drinking water SRF can cover, these are general items that cities apply for. Repair and replacement of raw water pumps, clarifiers, membranes, high service pumps, finished water clear wells, chemical feed systems, SCADA. That's a kind of a list that are typically looked at water plants. There's also the distribution side. Here's some improvements that can be qualified through the program, which will be replacement of transmission lines, valves, ground storage tank, booster pumps, and improvements such as that. So there's typically $100 to $200 million in funds available. Now that's a small portion of that is grant money, usually up to $10 million or so. And then there's for small systems, there's subsidies up to $2 million. And then there's a green element. If you can show that you're making improvements to conservation, then you can qualify for up to $1 to $2 million. Typically, we apply if we are replacing a lot of leaking water lines where the city has a high water loss in that area. Then if we can go in there and improve those with new PVC pipes that don't leak, that can qualify for green funding. So we always include that in the application when we apply for water line replacement. What we are proposing for the city of Sweetwater at this point in time, working with staff, We've identified at the water treatment plant, there's 2 remaining trains of membranes that were not replaced. One of those trains has a lot of breaks in it, in the fibers, and since this is such a long process, it'd be 2 years before construction would be completed if the city gets funded and chooses to move forward. It's being discussed about putting in for that application to replace those additional 2 trains. There's additional water line replacement, approximately 70,000 feet right now have been identified. We're painting a ground storage tank at the water treatment plant, and then also some pump, motor, and electrical improvements at the raw water intake and booster stations. Right now, rough estimate, we haven't finalized it, but it's around 2.75 million is what we're looking at for those improvements. Let's go to the next slide. So on the clean water SRF, which was actually wastewater, it's kind of confusing, clean water and wastewater, but so these are wastewater related improvements. These are kind of typical items that qualify at wastewater treatment plants. The influent pumps, the wastewater screens, grit removals, the aeration equipment, clarifiers, disinfection equipment, chemical feed systems, and also there's SCADA elements on that as well. So typical wastewater collection improvements, that would be out in the collection system. Wastewater collection lines, manholes, lift stations, chemical feeds, and odor control. Those all qualify. These are the funding categories, or the amounts that are available through this fund. On the clean water side, 200 to 300 million funds available. Loans, as you can see, are quite a bit of funds there available for the loan aspect of it. The disadvantaged communities up to 10 million, and then there's also the green subsidy that you can qualify for. And you know, it is a competitive scoring process. We write the application, we submit it. We've done it, you know, years and years for the city of Sweetwater. Several projects have been funded. It is a ranking process, and typically, one portion of the program that I don't like is the entities that have TCEQ violations or have troubles with their systems that typically get funded. And for systems that take care of their system, routinely invest in their system, they don't sometimes rank as high because they don't have the violations. So it's kind of counterintuitive that you reward those that, you know, are a little behind. But anyway, that's the name of the game. So the identified improvements that staff and that we've worked with the staff to identify are here. We performed a wastewater treatment plant assessment a few years ago and identified some of these improvements that were recommended. Replacement of the influent transfer pumps and VFDs, the WASP piping replacement, mechanical screen components, PLC replacement, UV system replacement, membrane diffuser replacement, and then out in the wastewater collection would be a couple of areas for line replacement at Neff and Lewis front. I believe the creek erosion in that area has caused some issues. And then also there on Crane from 12th to 5th. Estimated value right now is about $2.0 million. We're still refining those numbers. And we'll come back to you at the next meeting. I guess that'll be in February, to hopefully have a finalized list in preparation for the application in March. We just wanted to get this in front of you guys now, let you look at it, and I'll let you know kind of what we've accomplished and where we are. I think we've got one more slide. This is the standard process. I mentioned it's kind of a long process, but you know, if you submit in March of 19, then you don't close on the funds typically until about March of the next year, 2020. And then you start the design process. And then you go to construction. So it's a long process, but we all know that infrastructure is very expensive. It's not getting any cheaper. It's all getting more expensive. And every day you go, the more improvements need to be done. So it's good. It's a good process to leverage the amount of funds you have locally with state low-interest loans or grant funds. And that's what we do through the CDBG project or grant project. We've got one ongoing now, and also through the Texas Water Development Board program. believe that's it. Any questions?
Thanks, Sage.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
Thanks, Sage.
Thank y'all.
Okay, city manager's report.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Sage. Just a couple of items, Mayor, I want to bring Mayor and Council and the community up to speed on. One would be the status of the splash pad project, and the second one will be the dog park status. These are both projects that are being funded by the MDD, so thank you, Ken, and your board for your contributions on that. Splash pad status, really what we're looking at right now is that it's been Ken and Russell Jones and myself that have formed the team that's really gotten us to this point. We've met with 2 vendors as of today. We have a teleconference later today with one of the vendors. We've received some designs that have been submitted. We're really not to the point. I wish I could throw them up on the slideshow because they're really neat looking, aren't they, guys? But we're just not to the point where we can share those publicly, but we're hoping to be able to do that very soon. And we'll bring items back to the council beginning in February. It's a process to get this done, just like Sage was saying with water and wastewater. It's probably not as complicated to build a splash pad, but it's not easy either. There are very many steps involved. And so we'll be bringing back items to the council for consideration and approval beginning in February and into the spring, and hopefully have a ribbon cutting and see a bunch of smiling faces enjoying the splash pads here in Sweetwater into the summer of 2019. And so that's what I have on the splash pad status. On the dog park, we're a little further ahead on that. Those are some pictures that were taken late last week, just several days ago. And Russell and his crews and Eddie and his crews have done a tremendous job up to this point of getting us ready. The fencing, you can see, is getting ready to be installed. Let's see, our next step is to install the irrigation, and that'll be done by Eddie's crews. Thank you for that, Eddie. All materials are ready to go for that part of it. The water tap was installed for us and is in the ground as we speak. The chain link fencing will be after that. That material has been ordered and is ready to go. After that, it'll move fairly quickly. We'll plant the trees. We'll install the benches, the shade structures, the drinking fountains, and the pet waste stations. All of these items are currently on order and expected to arrive within about 30 to 45 days. We still need to decide on some signage, including the name of the park, who it was funded by, Ken, rules, contacts, those types of things. And there's some potential for some obstacle courses depending on how close we get to that $50,000 budget that would allow the dogs to really have a good time out there. Now, just as a reminder that what you're looking at now is the 1 acre portion of the 1.5 acre dog park. That 1 acre portion is fenced in and set aside for the larger dogs. And that's what you're looking at right there. And then the next part of it is the 1/2 acre fenced in portion for the smaller animals. And so total it'll be 1.5 acres, one, like I said, for the larger dogs, a 1/2 acre set aside for the smaller dogs. Irrigated, obstacle courses, places to sit, some shade structures to get out of the heat a little bit. We're looking at a potential April 1st start date for that, to do the ribbon cutting and start having fun out there at that dog park project. If anybody hasn't gone by there, I'd suggest going by. It's right across from the soccer fields, just south of the arena. And so 1 acre doesn't sound like a lot. It's just one, but you get out there and it's substantial. You can kind of envision folks taking their animals out there and having a lot of fun, making a day of it, those kinds of things. And that's what we want to do. We want to work with the MDD, work with the community to increase quality of life offerings here in Sweetwater. We appreciate the council's support of those types of endeavors. And so, Mayor, that's my update on splash pads and the dog park.
Thanks, sir. Okay, we'll now move to item 8, which is to enter into closed session pursuant to section 551.087 of the Texas Governmental Code. The city of Sweetwater will consult in closed session with its attorneys to receive legal advice regarding pending or complicated litigation, a settlement offer, or matter in which the duty of the attorney of the governmental body under the state disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with the act. To include the following matters: Project 2019-001.
I move we enter into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.